Okay, Chima, I'm making you the presenter right now. Looking forward to hearing your voice and your screen. Everybody, F.A.C.E community, welcome Chima Nwokoro. And
Hi,
hi, Chima. So nice to meet you. Thank you for taking time to be with our community today.
Yeah, send me a Dale. Send me a Dale.
And
how are you all doing?
Your Twitter handle is at Sakal Consultants, S-E-K-A-L Consultants, correct?
Consults, yeah, consults.
Consults,
Yes.
Right. So I'd like to, have you step into a time machine, Chima. And,
Yes.
I have a suspicion that you came from maybe an engineering background or something, just a guess. But
Yeah.
you like to code. And I know the engineers are very technical people and perfectionists, and everything has to be right. Is that a correct guess that you come from that background?
Yes, yes, I do.
And you didn't tell me this before the interview, did you?
No, you did. I didn't. No,
Okay.
no. Yes, you're absolutely correct. I do code my my trading systems and tools, and what
Before you started trading, though, tell me how you. Tell me about the transition from being an engineer, and I'm sure you were involved in other kinds of projects before you got into the trading world. What brought you into the trading world?
Yeah, my background is in chemistry. I'm trained a chemist, so I have a BSc in chemistry.
Okay.
And I've always worked in manufacturing. So I started off as a quality person, quality assurance chemist in a foundry, actually, where we made ferrotitanium, and then worked in oil and gas, still within the quality assurance. I became quality manager for the business, and looked after 2 sites in the UK and in the Netherlands. Looking after management systems and things like that. So this is where my system thinking came from.
Okay, and what attracted you to the trading world, and what was your initial, say, 6 to 12 month experience like?
Right. My initial interest into trading was way back before I even got into school. I just had this desire to work with numbers, and as well with the concept of you not actually starting up a company, but you can own part of the company, if you get what I mean. That really excited me and got me into thinking about how I could do that. But sometime in 2010. October 2010, I then started to get involved in Forex. And how that started was I was setting up one of my websites, and I saw an ad on the, I was setting up a Google ad on my website, and the first ad Google puts up was something to do with Forex. And so straight away, because I already had the interest, I clicked on it, and then from that point, I just got hooked.
Okay.
So for 7 years. So you asked how was my first 12 months, or how my first 12 months. Really, the first 12 months were try and error, making mistakes, losing money, blowing up small accounts, like everybody else will do. Up until, I would say up until 2013. So 3 years really, on and off. I was
that's such an interesting number, because so many people have expectations that within their first 12 months they could become a successful trader. And my contention is, you go to a university, it's 4 years for an undergraduate degree. If you have any kind of trade, you're a carpenter, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're an apprentice for at least a year or so. Before you become a master, you even have to be a journeyman. So it's interesting that before you made a breakthrough, it was almost 3 years. So I bring that up so that people can learn to be patient with themselves and not have unrealistic expectations that right out of the chute they're going to master it. Because you can't learn experience. You have to live through all those things for you to progress. And, you know, you could probably have your learning curve expedited. You can't learn experience, but you can learn from the experience.
Yeah.
So great story, and it confirms one of my beliefs that it takes people longer than they think to become proficient.
Yes, my take to this really is using two words, content and context. What people tend to get in the first few months, weeks, months of any endeavor is content. So people learn a lot of things, they get the knowledge, but knowledge actually doesn't make you become successful or great at what you're trying to do. It is the ability to take the content, the information you're picking up, and then put it into different contexts. That's actually what makes you eventually become successful. And context doesn't come immediately. Context comes with experience.
Right. Screen time.
Yeah. So
screen time. You know, in our business, you know, that experience is screen time. So yeah, it looks like you prepared a very nice PowerPoint presentation, and maybe we could start to move to your slides and talk about what you're doing now. Thanks for your history, and I think that was a great guess by me, although it wasn't exactly true. You're more of a chemist than an engineer, but you're a chemical engineer. So why don't we go to your X-Gen breakout system? Looks like it's your next slide. There we go.
Yes. Really, before I get to that, I'll just use the first 5 minutes to lay some foundations, and basically this is it. This is actually my story. I already told it, so I'm just going to breeze through this. This is what I call this a Forex trader's blueprint. And everybody starts off, and this is not just particular to Forex, it is also for trading in stocks and all that. Everyone starts off with an idea of making lots of money very quickly. But the reality is it's a journey. And the first decision everyone makes is I then commit my money into this. Usually for most folks, they have the initial win. And once you have that win, that can be absolutely confusing because you think because I've won, I can do it over and over and over and over again. But what tends to happen is you get the inevitable loss. And for some folks, that loss is actually what sinks them. For others, the loss isn't big enough to sink them, and they continue to look for people to help them. This is where they start to look for the gurus, they start to look for the signals to copy. But then that doesn't really help you. I remember when I did this myself, I copied a few gurus and I was still not making money. And I was still making a lot of losses. And this is where a lot of folks, again, at this point, people drop off. But at this point, if you really want to go on, you start to ask the question, show me how to do it. And this is what then leads folks into finding platforms like yours, you know, the ForexAnalytix, and where you can actually get training that is real, not promising things that are not realistic. And I say this because I've watched several of the videos from F.A.C.E, from previous interviews and webinars, and this is
a great slide learning. I think everyone could see themselves going through all these different stages. That's really a beautiful slide.
Yeah, and for me, you need to get to the point where you then become an independent thinker, to a point where you understand and accept that there is this paradox in trading, which is there will be losses and there will be profits. Both are just events that just happen. But what you want to be able to do is to have bigger, consistent profits and fewer, smaller losses. They both happen, both are events, but you've got to have the edge in your favor. And I think that's hopefully what your platform helps traders to do. And I must say this, thanks for what you're doing for the trading community, and because it is good stuff. It's good stuff.
Oh, thank you so much. We have a pretty good team here.
Yeah.
So okay, so here we go. Now you have your triangle.
Yes, and this again is what we know. Everyone that has been, especially on a platform like this, would have heard that mindset is the biggest criteria for a successful trader. And then the next thing is systems and techniques, where most folks, when you start out, you think that techniques is all and all. Techniques and systems are just 10% of it. And the other bigger criteria is your money management. And for me, the key thing about money management is the top of my list is where is my exit?
Yes.
Until you understand your exit, where your exit is, you can put on all the trade sizing, right? You can have your risk management in place. Until you know where your exit is meant to be, you can still be losing money. So the first thing to find out is always where is my exit going to be, and then you start to work around my trade sizing and risk management, which are absolutely important. They are all part of the money management technique.
It's interesting that you put money management at 30 and psychology at 60%. A lot of people would reverse that.
Yeah.
They'd say, you know, I mean, the typical statement is risk management is everything. And you place more value on having the correct mindset in psychology. Why? Because
this comes back to the point about in the previous slide I had, where you get to that point where you understand that you can control your emotions while trading. You know when to cut your losses. Even though you've got your stop loss in place, you know when to cut your losses without emotions coming in. You know when to leave your profits to keep running. Even though you've got so much money on the plate, you don't want to cut it out. It is you need to master that, master yourself, master the emotion to be able to do that. And without a strong mindset, a healthy mindset, you cannot do that. It's impossible.
How about if you have a spouse that knows when they should take the mouse away from you and put it in the wall safe?
That itself is, and this is the point, absolutely, because this again is where I know there is a lot of argument about the place of automation in trading, but this is where automation also helps a lot of folks where they cannot control emotions. Automation sometimes just takes, like you said, take the mouse away and say, just, you know what I mean. But anyway, this is the way I see it. I believe mindset is 60%, money management 30, and then techniques 10.
Okay, we're with you.
Yeah. And now, now this is the let's get into the main thing really. And to talk about this really is to start with trading sessions. Now, the ERXGen breakout system, which you'll see in the next slide, is basically early riser next generation breakout system. It is based on what the popularly known London Open breakout, but I've got some optimization filters that I've added to it that just increases the edge or increases the probability of win for me. And I use this technique is one of the day trading techniques I use. I'm kind of more or less a medium-term trader. But I do have one or two intraday techniques that I use, and this is one of them. Very interesting, and I'm sure you will pick up one or two things from this. And what we see from this is we all know that in Forex trading we've got four, some people call it three, but four major sessions. So we've got the Sydney and the Tokyo sessions, which are usually regarded as the Asian sessions. And then we've got the London session and the New York session. And as we can see from the chart there, most of the transactions actually happen around the London and New York session. And what we tend to do with the ERXGen breakout system is just take advantage of those, high probability or high volatility periods. And if you notice, we can see this here. Boom, price just breaks out there, price breaks out there, price breaks out there, price breaks out there, and these are 4 days, consecutive days, and this happens practically every single day. But the question is,
each one of those rectangles is a different session, geographic.
Yes. Yes. So this is a complete 20. Sorry, I've got to clean that now.
Yeah.
Take that out now.
Because I mean, just from being an observer, I always thought that most of the important reversals happen in the London session, but then the U.S. session reverses that at times, turns London around. Have you noticed that?
Yes. If you notice on the second day here that is on this bit here, you can notice that this happened during the London session. So the up move happened during the London session, and for most of the New York session, you can see that reversed back down.
Yeah.
So technically, it does happen that way. Look at the 4th day as well, the same thing, and reverses the during the New York session. But during both sessions, you can have days where during the London session is very quiet, very low volatility, and suddenly during the New York session, you get a breakout. And I must say, it's good you asked that question. I must say that I do not trade this system past 4 p.m. UK time.
Okay, and why is that? Because it thins out, volume thins out, most of the moves have already happened.
Yes.
And people are just picking each other's pockets up.
Yes.
Okay.
The system, the strategy is as I've already explained, that what we tend to do is monitor price action during the Asian session. And so from 0:00 GMT to 6 a.m. GMT, and just monitor what's happened in that period. And we've got 2 entry techniques. So you can either be aggressive or conservative, again, depending on what the preference is for the trader. For the aggressive technique, the trader just places a pending order on either the Asian session high or Asian session low. And once price breaks it in momentum, we get filled in. And this being an intraday session, the basic number of pips that we look for is anything between 10 to 25 pips. But sometimes, again, depending on the money management and trade management technique we are employing, you can actually get up to 50, 100 pips in certain cases. But really, this is between 10 and 25 pips, and very quick in the day.
So I would call this your scalping system.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then the conservative price breaks, then retraces back to retest the Asian session high or Asian session low, and then continues in the direction of the break before you can take a trade. Now, the 3 rules. Now, this is where anyone that has said about the London Open breakout would have said what I've said so far is common knowledge. But this is the point where I've got the 3 rules that or filters that help me increase the probability of wins on this. Now I've got 3 rules: intra-week trend, tight price action during the Asian session, and the position of the Asian session price action. And we'll get into that. We all know that there are only 3 things that can happen to a trend. So once I've noticed a trend or found a trend on any asset, there are only 3 things that can happen from the point I find the trend. The trend can either continue to move in the direction that the preceding direction, it can reverse in the opposite direction, or it just ranges about certain levels around that same point. These are the only 3 things everyone knows that can happen to a trend. And what I tend to look for in for this system is I want to see 2 consecutive days or 3 consecutive days of trending. So it can either be bullish trending or bearish trending. And as we can see, this is just to explain that yes, you will get 2 days. We had 1 to 3 days, and then we had the reversal, and then we had the price move in that direction, and then reversed again, ebb and flow in the market, and all the system tries to do is to take advantage of that.
Let me ask you something, because I'm a big proponent of 3. Do you see threes popping up in your work? Like you just showed 3 days before a reversal. Is that a common pattern?
I just love 3. To be honest, just like yourself, probably. I just love 3. I find that someone talks about triangulating. As long as you can triangulate anything, you can find a solution to if you have a problem and you can triangulate it, you will always find a solution. So it's just a mindset. There's this thing about 3 that just makes it easy to
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Now this is the rule. So in reality, what I do is I have this indicator that I've written that just helps me, makes it easy for my eyes to pick up these trending situations in the market. So I follow three. You've got the 3 boxes there that lets me see the 3 days. One can also use the normal MetaTrader for or any other platform separators, period separators to show the days. But I use this system to just make it easier for my eyes to see whilst trading. And so what we have here, the 3 days, a 3-day intra-week trend. So 3 consecutive days of bullish and bearish price action. And here we have 2 days, consecutive days. So from the current day, previous day, and the day after must be either bullish or bearish. So being 2 days. And that's for rule 1. Rule 1, I must have either 3-day or 2-day trending situation. And then rule 2, the Asian session must be tight. And what I mean by being tight is probably, first of all, I will explain the periods of monitor. It has to always be GMT. So it's 00 GMT to 6 a.m. GMT. And we just monitor what price has done in that period. And if we notice here, the first candle 00 formed the low of that period, and the final candle here in this case also formed the high of that period. And we just draw a line for the Asian session high and another line for Asian session low, and wait for price to break either of them. And the point where price breaks, we want to look for 25 pips. I usually do 25 pips for 50% of my trades and wait for the next 25 pips for a further 25% of my trade, and then we just trail the stop loss.
Okay, so you take partial profits on this.
Yes, yes, sequential profits. Okay. Yes, yes. I'll show this a bit.
I'll show this a bit. You get paid.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Don't do all the work and don't get paid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's rule 2. Now, what we want to see is something like this. We want to see something like this. So tight. We don't want to see anything like this. This is too wide, which means that price has already moved all, as it were, is moved most of the action during the Asian session. And one key thing to always keep an eye on is the average true range. And whilst doing this, if price has already moved during the Asian session for most of its average true range, I don't usually get into any trade, intraday trade on that. I'm out.
So your ideal setup is very tight, narrow ranges in Asia to be traded in London.
Absolutely, and that's rule number 2.
Okay.
Rule number 2, we must have a tight Asian session. And what I mean by tight is I want to look for less than 50% of the ATR movement. If it's more than 50%, I'm not in, I'm out, as it were. And these are the sort of things I want to see. I want to see something like that. So tight range there, a tight range there, and the third one as well. Those are the sort of levels I want to see. Sorry, this is rule number 3. That was rule number 2, which is a tight session. Rule number 3 is the position of the Asian session with respect to the previous day. So we can see this is a current day here, and that's day 0. And the current day and the previous day is day 1, and the day after that is day 2. I want to always see my day 0, which is the current day that we're at, to always be either at the top area of the previous day or somewhere around here. And what I usually say is anything above the top 30% of the previous day range or 30% below. Now, there's a lot of maths dropping into this, but because I do a lot of coding, I need to be able to do that. But in reality, just use your eyes, and as long as it is within the top level of the day or at the bottom level of the day, that's fine, and it should be a tight range.
Okay.
And I've just done this here to just show it as an example. And why do I do that? This is key here. Why do I do this? You must realize that the OHLC, so your open, high, low, close, your high and the low of the previous day are usually, and the close, are usually levels of support or resistance. And this being an intraday session, I want to be able to take some profit before I come against one of those levels. And so if the Asian session forms at the top, in this case, the high will be somewhere there, I've got this distance here to move before I hit the low. So there is a higher probability for me to make some pips. I'm looking for 25, 50, 75 pips. But 25 as a minimum to take my 50% of my trades off the table. Yes. So that gives me the opportunity to do that, either top or bottom. Key factor there.
Okay.
And that's just showing examples of rule number 3. They should be at the high or the low of the previous day's session. And now let's look at some examples. This was on, let me see. This was on the 4th of May. We had this on the 4th of May. And this was around 8:20. I took the screenshot. Now we had 2 days. So day 0, day 1, and day 2. And we had 2 days, day 1 and day 2 were bullish days. Price opened here at this point and closed at this point. And so it was a bullish day. It's not massively bullish day, which is why it's gray. But we have 2 days consecutive days of bullish price action. And on the current day, we have our Asian session high, Asian session low, and we see price broke this, and boom, we went to the upside. What I also do here, the currency pair on this was Euro AUD, and we can see that here, the Asian session range was 57 pips. So this range here was 57 pips. Okay. And the 20-day range is 114. And the range on that current day was 182. So we had about more than 2 times the Asian session range to make profit. Nice. In that case. And the second example, I like the
simplicity of it.
Yeah, I think I just like to have a clean chart. I do have all these lines, and probably I should talk about that now. I do like to see the pivot levels, so the daily pivots whilst I'm trading. And so this blue line, the blue line here is the daily pivot, and that one there is the previous day's daily pivot point. The red line there is a resistance 2, S2 level, and that's an R2 level, and that's an S2 level here, and the green one. I also like to have the round numbers on my chart. Again, all these things, this is why I say I automate my trading. All these things are coded. I've got codes that actually do all these things for me.
So someone who buys the software has all of this appearing on their chart.
Someone who buys this software, the ERX Gen software, no, just has the ERX Gen software. These other ones are separate indicators.
Okay.
And by the way, the ERX Gen indicator is a free indicator. So guys, go get it. It's free. It becomes a paid utility when it's the automated trading software, as it were. But the indicator itself is a free software. And
they get that at your website, 5talentstraders.com.
Trader.com. Yes, they can. Folks can get free copies from there. I also use the round numbers, like I said, and then you can see the magenta line there, the purple line there. Those are you've got a thick one, and you've got a very light one broken there. Those 2 lines actually represent, when I say those 2 lines, they are multiple on the chart. They represent longer term levels of support and resistance. So it's able to pick up levels from the weekly and the monthly time frames, and then just draw lines on the shorter time frames for me at levels where price can actually retrace. We can see, not on this particular chart, but if you look out here, you can see that price was hovering around that level there. That was a near-term level of support and resistance, again automatically drawn on the chart, and this updates itself automatically on a daily basis. So every single day it redraws the lines to just make sure that I've got the most up-to-date levels on my chart. Okay. And so that's an example. In this example, all my rules were not met. If you look up here on the left-hand side, you see that the trend was met, uptrend. The range was okay, but the position was not okay. Because if you look at this level here, is almost 50% of the previous day. So this was not a valid trade for me. I did not take that trade. However, if you look at it, that would have still been a successful trade. But the point is this is the point about emotional control. If it doesn't meet all your rules, do not take the trade. Just leave it for the next day or for the next one, as it were.
Great. Even though it was a winner, it was still right not to do it.
Yes.
Because if you start breaking your rules, and some of them work out, you just not become a system trader.
Yeah, and as well, what you become then is you're dropping your standards. And once you start to drop your standards, you start to accept anything. And this is where the problem starts from trading. You've got to have your standards where your rules are. Follow those rules. Is my simple way of looking at this. A third example from the 4th of May, still on the same day. Again, similar thing, two previous days of bullish price action and price breaks. It was 65 pips range, and the range for that day was 159. So there was an opportunity to take two times the stop loss on that. And notice as well, you can see this line here, the red line, that is the resistance level 2, R2 level, and again automatically drawn on the chart, and we can see price got to that
right
point.
To the pip. Yeah.
Right to the pip and touched it and came back down. And the interesting thing is, at the start of the day, before you see all this action set up, those lines are already drawn. So you see those lines even before anything happens in the day. Right. And so you're able to know what levels you could potentially have reversals, and then you can make those levels your profit levels. Or levels where you take most of your trade off and just leave a bit out because price can actually break those levels.
What a great presentation. Really interesting presentation. Yeah. You want to show your website and how people can get a hold of you, because we're starting to press up against the time. Oh my gosh, you had one heck of a presentation.
No, that's it. This is 5 Talents Trader, and that's me. So I've got you can reach out to me. You can get contact, hit the contact menu, or go through Facebook, Twitter.
You know what you drew, Chima? And I'm so glad I reached out to you. You know, a lot of guys that do interviews, they want to, only interview people that have 40, 50,000 followers because it's going to generate traffic. But I'm a big believer in holding people up and giving them a chance to have visibility, and not based upon how many followers they have. I'm so glad that I reached out to you for you to give us this demonstration of your hard work, your dedication to trying to eliminate emotions by using something systemic. And your slides were great. I want to thank you for your time. For coming here to address F.A.C.E, and really was a great interview. I hope you enjoyed your time here.
I did, and thanks again to you. And just 30 seconds, just to show in real time. This is real time now. USD CHF. We can see today we had a notification. We had all 3 of them okay, and we can see what price has done. So
You had a big day, short side of Swiss with your rules.
yes,
Nice.
yes. So,
Okay.
so thanks again for giving us
Chima,
the.
thank you so much. I encourage people to check Chima out. You know, sometimes, you know, when I was kind of a cynical guy, Chima, you know what I used to say about systems?
Yeah.
The systems are for people who don't know how to trade.
Yeah.
But I've changed my view that systems are great for people to help them maintain their discipline by having a rules-based way to trade. And it helps eliminate the emotional decisions and the FOMO, fear of missing out, and all of that. So congratulations on what you've developed. I wish you all the success in the universe.
Thanks, Dale, and I will always be in touch. Keep doing what you're doing and keep helping traders out.
All right. Thank you so much, Chima. Everyone thank Chima for his presentation. Everyone knows how to reach him, and you could follow him on Twitter at Sekal Consults, S-C-K-A-L Consults, C-O-N-S-U-L-T-S, and at www.5talentstraders.com. The community is thanking you, Chima. Good hunting, buddy. I'm proud to call you my trading warrior brother. How about that?
Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right.
All right.
Okay, everybody. And
yes, see you guys later then.
All right, and that's a wrap for me and the F.A.C.E session. I want to thank Blake and Steve and Stelios and the community and everybody for contributing to a good session. If you notice, the guppy is selling off. We talked about that. I still think there's a lot of downside left in it. You know, if you took it from 37, you have a nice trade going. Don't chase it though. I'm sure there'll be some rebounds. And that was the guppy. And then we'll take a look at pound Aussie tomorrow. And I have an excellent interview tomorrow. I think tomorrow is Greg FX. Yeah, it's Greg Michalowski's going to be with us tomorrow. So everyone have a great day. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And I count working with Blake and the team and you guys a blessing in my life. So you guys are counted. Adios.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chima. See you, Russell.